All right, so let's get this switch through T17. We're going to do stack deck cloister farming because that's just like really, really rippy content. And we'll see how she does. So we'll cloister stack decks and ritual onto a T17. Like the map mods are not bad. More life is annoying. Accuracy rating doesn't affect this. These bubbles are annoying. A less curse effect is fine. We only have one curse. Less recovery is okay. She just mows through this T17 though. This T17 feels easier than the Glacier deck, than the Glacier map in T16 does. I mean, the build is really straightforward. You just move forward, throw tornadoes out, wait for your golems to res because they die all the time. Can't do anything about those proximity shields. Tornadoes don't seem to bypass the proximity shields. So you have to stand in the proximity shields to hit the cloistered mobs. But it's okay, I mean, we're super tanky. No recovery maps don't really affect the build that much because most of our recovery comes from on block. And on block is not recovery, and we have like ridiculous amounts of instant leech. And of course, instant leech is not affected by no recovery mods. Let's find the boss here. Or let's not find the boss here. Today we're going to go over our Tornado Witch. This is a Tornado of Elemental Turbulence Witch that we've got roughly 10 div invested in it right now, plus the cost of a Lightning Mercenary. You will need a Lightning Mercenary to maximize this build. I will have information in a video on how to find and equip your Lightning Mercenary, but you want a Wrath and Zealotry Mercenary to maximize this build. For now, we're going to run this 8-mod Corrupted Glacier map on a Cloister setup with stack decks and rituals. It's just a really nice rippy map to run. As far as mods go, this has Avoid Elemental Elements, which is a huge hit to our damage, so we'll be doing a little bit less damage than normal in this map. But the map itself, other than that, is not too bad. The only mods you really want to look for are Reflect, Avoid Ailments, and possibly Block. They're not impossible maps, they're either just slower or more rippy if you find those mods on those maps. Let's jump in here. As far as tankiness goes, most of the time, you can just dive in the middle of everything. Like the build is super tanky. Right now, Tempest Shield is doing all of our killing. We're not actually attacking anything. We haven't cast any spells yet. And so this is just Tempest Shield combined with our Bismuth Blast for explosions and killing stuff. However, you can kill things very easily by just throwing out some tornadoes. And so your tornadoes are going to do really, really good damage. And so you get a nice combination of a tanky build with a safe build in the Witch. Back in we go. So most of your playstyle is just going to roll around casting a tornado and then looting stuff, and then casting a tornado and then looting stuff. and you let the tornadoes just go and do their job. Now, the tornadoes themselves have an auto-targeting feature, so they will chase after enemies, unlike Spark, so you don't have to worry about having the screen filled with them. They will just hunt everything down. Small areas like tunnels, things like that, walls don't have any impact on the tornadoes. They will ignore walls and continue chasing down everything. So basically any environment, whether it's tight or spread out, are good environments for the tornadoes themselves. Now you can have a maximum of 3 tornadoes active at a time. We are running combat focus jewels to convert all of these tornadoes to only lightning tornadoes because we are a lightning build. And in the ritual, you just stand here and cast tornadoes. We do have the option of running a second damaging skill. You could carry a brand or something like that instead of only tornadoes, because the tornadoes have a 4-second duration. We can cast 2 tornadoes a second. So you only need to be casting tornadoes 3 times every 4 seconds. So there's like 2.5 seconds of dead time where you're not doing anything productive. And so you could include a brand in the build as a secondary source of single target, or a spell totem as a secondary source of single target, or things like Algor Mortis gloves could be worn, and then you could use Creeping Frost or some other chilling area effect to do increased damage against enemies in your chilling zones. There's a lot of additional options for scaling the build itself. For right now, we're just keeping it super low budget and super simple so that everyone has an option for T16 and T16.5 and T17 map farming on something that is nice and tanky and comfy through all of the basic content in the game. Now let's go take a look at the POB. We're going to go over the entry budget on the Witch. Items that you're going to need are Void Battery, Aegis Aurora, Incandescent Heart, a tornado level replica Dragon's Flight, a couple of tamings, a replica Prism Weave, a cold combat focus, a fire combat focus, and a Militant Faith that fits our timeless jewel search here. You'll just add instability and Golem Commander to the protected nodes, any elemental damage on here, and then all of these will work. There's bound to be one for sale for cheap. And so that's how we're going to set up items on the entry budget. Now for our rare items, we just want boots with armor and energy shield and like resistances, and open suffix for stats. For gloves, we want int and armor and ES and an open suffix for stats. And then for our helm, we're going to be using a Penance brand helm. Now I'll talk later about how to get these helms. This one is the simplest version of the helm. You get an Archdemon helm. You influence it with any orb. You can re-roll influence on your harvest bench until it becomes Shaper, or you can influence it with a Shaper orb or buy a Shaper Archdemon helm. Once you have a Shaper Archdemon helm, you hit it with 1 Essence of Horror. That gives you 30% more LE damage. And then you're just going to suffixes cannot be changed and reforge crit. Now that puts this helm at the largest budget on the build. However, if you don't want to just craft the helm, these helms are always for sale for like 1 div or less with only a couple of affixes on them. And again, we'll talk about that at the end of this POB. Now for skills, they're nearly the same for both characters. You're going to run Tornado of Elemental Turbulence with supports. We're running Conk Effect, Inspiration, Crit Damage, Crit Strikes, and Fizz to Lightning. On our Penance brand, we're going to run Fizz to Lightning, increase crit damage and more duration. We're going to run 4 Golems, Stone, Ice, Flame, and Lightning. We're going to run 4 Auras, Arctic Armor, Tempest Shield, Discipline, Flesh, and Stone. We're going to run a self-cast, not a cast when damage taken, a self-cast Frost Shield and Sigil of Power, and a self-cast Punishment and Flame Dash. So very, very little buttons that are added in. A few buttons added in strictly for bossing. Whenever you come up to a boss, you'll drop a Frost Shield on the ground and a Sigil of Power on the ground. These will both last for 12 seconds, and it's highly unlikely the boss lasts for longer than 12 seconds. And so this will give you some additional damage and some additional protection while you're fighting the boss. Then you're going to self-cast Punishment on the boss as well to both reduce the damage he does to you and increase the damage he takes when he gets on low health. And then Flame Dash is our primary movement ability. If you really wanted a second movement ability, you could always come in here and just throw a shield charge on. I'm not a real big fan of doing anything with flame dashing around, so I use flame dash as my primary movement ability. Our passive tree, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time going over. The passive tree is a CI-based passive tree. We're going to use Inner Conviction on our Militant Faith, and then we're going to take power charges where we can get power charges, and we're going to take endurance charges where we can get endurance charges. Most of our physical block comes off of the tree down here, along with an Anoint for Wall of Steel, and then most of our spell block comes from this node and this node up here. We do want to make sure that we get Energy Shield Mastery here, Energy Shield Mastery here, and depending on your gear choices, you're going to want to take your Armor and Energy Shield Mastery here as well, because this is a tremendous amount of ES for us. And so that's how you're going to push out all of the nodes on your passive tree. Again, combat focus for fire and combat focus for cold, so that we're blocking everything except for lightning on our Tornado of Elemental Turbulence. As you can see, the lightning one does 14 million damage, the fire one does 8 million damage. We only want to be pushing out lightning tornadoes. And so we're going to do that through the use of these combat focuses, which limit prismatic skills. Now, our in-game budget will show you how much damage we do, about 55 million DPS total in-game when we're at full ramp on the character. And then in our high budget, it goes up to about 175 million DPS. As you can see on our entry budget, we have infinite EHP with shield block from Aegis. If we're not getting shield recovery from Aegis, we still have 407,000 effective health pool, 35k max fist hit, and 100k fire, cold, and lightning make this character incredibly tanky. We've got a ton of recovery through ES regen, through ES leech, and through ES block on hit. So you should feel very, very comfy in maps as you're running around and getting things accomplished. Now, I do want to take a moment to go over the helm itself, how to search for it on trade, what to look for, and then there's a million videos out there for crafting the helm. So if you want to craft your own helm, you can do that as well. But at this point in the league, you're way better off actually searching for the helm. So let's take a look at that. Putting Penance brand into the Tornado build as an alternative way to scale single target damage. Because of the downtime that we have on casting tornadoes, we're going to talk about how you can get a decent Penance brand helm. So the first thing is going to be a dirt cheap Penance brand helm. And I'll have this search link included, but you're looking for a Penance brand helm that has a total weight of 30. That means these each count for 1 level of weight. More elemental damage counts for half a level of weight. Increased critical strike chance counts for 10. And then socketed AoE gems also counts for weight. And so you're just going to search for these. This is set at a 2-div budget. There's 18 of them right now. These are all almost the same. You can sort by sum, and like this one at the top, this is a better one than the rest of them. And it has an open prefix, so you can add the +1. So this one in particular would be a sum total of 50, making it, for 2-div, an incredibly good budget option. So this is for getting a 1 to 2-div Penance brand helm. This is based on the market today, based on you not wanting to craft or not having the budget to craft. This could change anytime, but this is an option. Second option would be to step up your budget. Now, the first thing that you can look for would be a hypo LE damage crit strike chance. Now, these are craftable, but to craft this helm right here is going to cost, in fact, we'll step back one more, and we'll just go with empty suffix modifiers. These helms cost on average 14 div to craft. If you take this helm, you can take this helm as it is, 7, 10, that's a good deal, 16's not. You can step up to having the crit strike chance on there. This is going to take on average 28 div to craft, because you've only got a 50-50 shot of hitting the unveil on the crit for your bench. So these, again, anything under 28 div is a good deal on the helm. Once you start getting over 28 div, these are no longer good deals on the helm, and you're better off crafting them. Now you can take it up one more notch, and we can look at adding Conk Effect on. Adding Conk Effect on is going to take probably on average somewhere around 40 div, so anything under 40 div or at 40 div is good. This one right here is really good. And so you could get that one without any risk on the craft. Anything over 60 there is not so good. And then you add in the AoE gems in here, and you're at somewhere around 50 div on average, probably to craft these. And so all of these start to get a little bit more expensive. So you can just kind of decide which ones you want, how you want them. This is still a good helm. 61 div, you're not having to do any of the work, guaranteeing results, having everything that you want is phenomenal. If you want to, you can turn this down to 2 instead, and this is going to lower your budget pretty drastically. The crit chance one is really RNG-ish, whether you get the 3 or the 2. And so now we're into this territory on a 30 div helm, and so these end up being very good helms. And I'll include both of these links in the comments down below so that you have access to them, so you can search for a good Penance brand helm that fits your budget. If you have any questions over the build, drop a comment down below or come by Twitch or YouTube. I'm happy to answer them in person. All in all, I would give this build like a solid 9 out of 10. It's a great scalability, great tankiness, fun to play, easy to gear. I think y'all will enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.